Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Burning Hits Face Football. It is Thanksgiving weekend, so we're going over a little bit of. We're sort of halfway through the week almost already, at least for some people. But we
Yeah.
can just do a little bit of a rundown of what's been happening the last couple of weeks. And do you want to go over the standings and just talk about the major playoff implications that are coming down soon?
Yeah, let's just take a look at the standings right off the bat. We got 3 weeks left. Technically, even Connor Lestrange in last place has a chance at getting the first seed.
Pretty insane. Yeah. I
Yeah,
was gonna contact him and be like, "Hey, don't give up just yet. Your team's actually not that bad. You might have a chance."
yeah.
Especially if you
Everyone
just,
in this league has a chance at the bye still.
yeah. I mean, he's still predicted to beat Stein, and Stein's tied for first this week.
Yeah.
He's predicted to win, so it's still pretty crazy. Four people tied for first, and we have another four people at 5 and 6. And I think is this the week we've been waiting for, which is
Yeah.
the break of the tie, which should change some stuff. But Zach looks like he has a little of a lead already. Do you have any predictions on how maybe that's going to turn out? You think Smart can
Uh,
pull it out?
I mean, Zach has had some pretty he had Josh Allen go, who's that's the heart and soul of his team. So, I mean, I would expect them to have this starting lead. But I mean, Chris has a pretty solid team. You got Barkley was a little underwhelming, but I mean, you got Kenneth Walker in a plus matchup. You got um, e- like you got ETN who's been on fire. So you got some upside with those guys, but I mean, if I was him, I'd be a little scared playing the Rams defense against Kansas City.
I was going to say that.
Um, Taysom Hill is always scary, but it looks like they're going to use him in the passing game a little bit more. Pittman against Pittsburgh. I mean, Cincinnati just threw all over them, so maybe Pittman can have a big game. But I'm actually kind of scared about Chase. Like, he got off crutches less than a week ago, and they're expecting him to play. So, I mean, to me, I look at that as he's going to be probably limited and probably isn't going to get the full workload of what you're expecting.
I'm not even. I'm not sure if he's actually like a definite go to start just yet. So I'm like thinking maybe Palmer's gonna have to go in for him, but I'm not sure if you read
Yeah.
anything different.
From what I saw that he is a probable game time, he's a game time decision, but more than likely they're going to put him in. But it sounds like he's going to be very limited if they put him in.
Well, I feel like you still got to ride and die with Chase, and then Taysom Hill. He's been riding and dying with Taysom Hill all year. You
Yeah,
hope Taysom Hill, throws up 15 to 20 points, and then Chase gets a touchdown, and you should be pretty good. It's crazy how good his running backs are, and it's just too bad that Mike Williams is, came back
yeah.
last week and then got hurt again, and now he's not able to play. So that kind of hampers his team a little bit.
And on Zach's team, Jets got Chicago. If Fields plays, if Fields plays, he's going to have upside. If Fields doesn't play, it's going to be amazing upside. So I mean, Jets defense is a great play right there. Terry McLaurin against Atlanta is going to be pretty solid. Fryermuth always there. You got Juju back off the concussion. And Jeff Wilson is going to be phenomenal this week against Houston because I believe I saw that Mostert is going to be out this week.
Yeah, and Houston I think is at least bottom three
Houston,
running defense. So
Houston is the absolute worst run defense.
yeah,
There's no one.
but
I'm pretty
Wilson.
sure they're averaging giving up 107 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, so coming off a big week against the Browns, and now he can do another. Or was that? No, he had a big week last week. I thought. Yeah, the Browns. Um, so hopefully he can do that again, but he'll probably have to carry the load for AJ Dillon, who's been a huge disappointment after week one. I remember I picked him up in a league. I was like, "How is he? How is he getting dropped?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, I can see why he's getting dropped."
Yeah, that's been a huge disappointment this year, and it's really a shame.
Not a single touchdown after the first week. So you'd hope maybe they get a week. But I guess the Packers they're playing for their lives here. I mean, I feel like if the Packers lose, it's I saw something that if everything goes right for the Vikings, they can clinch the division next week with a win, which is insane.
Hey, yeah, but
So gonna have to carry that, but that'll be interesting, and that'll sort of change the tides because Zach could go from 4-6 to 6-6, and then you're seeing Chris Smart potentially in second or
yeah.
maybe even first if he gets lucky. But I think we have two 7-4 teams against each other. Yeah, Zach and Greg.
And I mean, if Zach loses, I mean, he drops to 4-8, which is the bottom of the league. So I mean, it's a big week right here for him.
Yeah, just as we all thought, crazy week once that happens. But then we've got a lot of just, I mean, me and you are just sort of, I'm praying for a downfall for you and Kuzi, and then I can, solidify myself in the playoff spot. So I'm actually rooting for Zach. Sorry, Chris Smart, but I need to get in the playoffs this year. Uh, Need to make it after just missing last year, after going losing my last three games last year. Anything else you want to bring up for the matchups this week?
I mean, I think every single one's important. So I mean, just like you have Chris, Greg, and Alex up there at 7-4.
Yeah, that's what I just pulled up. We want to go through that one just because it's looking
Yeah, I
very
mean
close.
they're fighting for that first round bye, and Chris has had some pretty solid guys go so far.
Yeah, they just have crazy teams. I mean, you got the two best running quarterbacks, two of like the renowned running backs in Henry and McCaffrey. And then you have Diggs, and then Debo and Tyreek Hill on the other team. It's pretty crazy. Then Jamal Williams, man, just having a crazy season.
Yeah. Now I saw a stat the other day in Lamar Jackson's last 34 games that he started, he's the QB 14.
What?
Yeah.
That seems
Like
insane.
I mean, if you look at it, like you had those big blow up games early in the season with like 20, 42, 39, but I mean 13, 14,
Yeah.
16, 10. And if you go back to last season, it's like it's not much better. Like I know this one he got hurt in with 1.8, but 17, 9, 15. Like he'll win you a week when he blows up, but he has a lot of down weeks in there also.
Yeah, last week was weird. A weird week when it was 3-3, pretty much like the whole game. It felt like against Carolina, and you assume he's going to go off. But Jacksonville's a pretty good defense too, and then he's got Denver again, which is great defense. So it's going to be interesting if he can kind of pull it up. But I feel like he's just not getting those touchdowns that he is used to. I mean, only
Yeah.
16 passing and 3 rushing is kind of low. He was my favorite for MVP. It was looking good after 3 weeks, but since then it's been a little brutal.
Yeah. But so I mean, I like this game. I think plays into a lot of who can get that number one seed. Um, like winning this week, winning that matchup gets you pretty close to it, and then obviously Connor. Like all your both 4-7 teams need to win. So Connor needs to beat Stein, and Matt really needs to beat me. And I gave him a good look after the Thursday games. I only put up 1.6 with Damian Harris.
Yeah, I mean they're all projected to be really really close, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But like Gabe Davis didn't really do him that many favors. You'd think he'd score a little bit more, but then the one interesting thing that I think is going to be Nick Chubb. What does he do against Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay used to have a great run defense. It's not looking that great anymore. But Chubb just came after. I think he had his worst game of his like career last week. So it was kind of crazy. At least rushing, 14 carries for 19 yards. Whew, bad.
I mean, even with Tampa Bay's run defense looking a little bit worse, like the past couple weeks, I mean, Seattle only gave up 10.2 to Kenneth Walker. The Rams is a tough one, but only gave up 8.3 to the Rams. Only gave up 24 to Baltimore and 29 to Carolina. But I mean, outside of like those two games, they've been a pretty stout defense against the run. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I'd be
Yeah.
leaning towards um, I'd be leaning towards favoring the Tampa Bay run defense.
Yeah, just the way the team looks, and I feel like the Browns are just I think next week's the week. So are they going to be hyped up or just like get me to next week so we can get our quarterback in? So we'll see what sort of it looks like.
No, I will say I just pulled up the Stein matchup, but Stein currently has Nixon in, who is out. So I mean, well, that'll be a big difference. But Leonard Fournette's out, and he has White on his bench, which I think, or nope, White's in his flex spot. But I mean, he can throw Brandon Cooks in there. Regardless, just making that pivot, getting out Joe Nixon will help his team.
Yeah, still going to be close. I feel like. I mean, we'll see. The Mahomes and Herbert thing. I'm surprised it's a 7 point thing, but I guess the Rams are going to be so bad. But you wonder, do the Chiefs go up 21-0 early and then just hang out?
And then just coast with Pacheco the rest of the game.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll
But
see, and we'll see what Garrett Wilson looks like with a new quarterback because he hasn't played with Mike White before, and Mike White loves Corey Davis, who's coming back. So I'm not sure if it'll be the same type of connection.
I have a feeling it's going to be Garrett Wilson still looking probably better than ever because he's going to have a competent quarterback who can throw the ball.
And probably just energy. There's probably got to be a lot of excitement
Yeah.
when someone else is in. It's a boost for at least a week, generally, whenever you have a new quarterback in. I feel like we're missing somebody. We're missing the Nick P. Kuzi game.
Yeah,
Which,
Nick P. Kuzma. I mean, Nick P's still fighting for that 1 seed, and Kuzi's really. I mean, he's in the same boat as everyone else, like in that bottom half. Like each game, it matters so much right now.
Yeah, it's
But
unfortunate. Kuzi's team just kind of fell apart. The Cho trade didn't help, and then Cup's gone, and now he's really relying on Najee, who's not having a good year, and Patterson, who's good,
yeah,
but it's a little bit scary.
and he's been rolling with Tom Brady and Evans, who I mean, Tom Brady's like low key having a phenomenal season yardage wise. It's just he's not had the touchdowns this year. I mean,
Yeah, it's
like
been more
yardage
Mike
wise,
Evans worse too.
yeah, I mean yardage wise, he's on pace for about over 4,000 yards, like close to probably 5,000 yards. But touchdown wise, he's on pace for less than 30, like right around which is just insane.
Yeah, and then if you look at it, it's just not a high scoring offense this year. And then Mike Evans
Yeah.
has been top 10 for the last 4 years I'm looking at. This is his worst season since he had a little slump in 2017. And 3 touchdowns is really not
Yeah.
normal for him. He just gets a lot of touchdowns generally.
So I mean, if regression bounces back for him, which I mean, it typically does, and he should bounce back and have a late season surge with these guys. But he really needs that surge to happen if he's going to make it.
Yeah, well, it's good that they're going against Cleveland because they're pretty awful against pretty much everyone on offense. So they'll have
Yeah.
a chance to move the ball.
But insanely close league, and every game matters.
Yeah, it's a big week, and just gonna get a couple big weeks in a row here. I mean, everyone's still alive at least, but
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes next week, and then the big Zach and Chris Smart sort of push. Go over my game if you want. I had a good start to the because this is the last one we haven't talked about yet. Had a good push.
Oh wow, yeah, you had a great start to the week.
Yeah, my receivers are coming alive here. So I'm just hoping. Prescott's been a little bit annoying because he plays well, but he doesn't always put up great points. He's playing pretty
Yeah.
well, but we'll see what happens. I'm hoping Kamara or someone crazy doesn't have something nuts like Artua gets a 35-point game out of nowhere, but I'm feeling okay at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can't be upset with how your week started.
Yeah, it's tough. Two 20-plus point receivers. It's pretty good. Justin Jefferson's just insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Do we want to go over? I know that there was one big free agent signing where people spent big money on.
I mean, we can. I don't think it matters too much in the grand scheme of things. I'm assuming it's the Samaje Perine pickup by Steven. Like 40, like 45 fab. That's quite the drop. But I mean, also, I like Perine. I think he gets one, maybe 2 games, and then it's going to go right back to Joe Nixon for the bulk of the work.
Yeah, that'll just be interesting to see just because maybe they bring back Mixon a little bit slower because P. Ryan did get a lot of touches in the playoffs. He's still a good, third down back sometimes. Um, and a lot of people, bid on this guy. So, and I've been stalking him in the Dynasty League for a while. So he might be somewhat useful. Running backs get slimmer and slimmer as the season goes on. So that's a pretty big one. Um, Did you want to review anything else? Do you want to look at the playoff bracket, or do you want to move over to Dynasty?
Let's go to like we'll be better. We'll make sure that we do a podcast next week, and then we'll look at the playoff picture after this first half, and we'll go to move
Yeah,
over the Dynasty now.
yeah, because it's still pretty just crowded. We won't know much until next week. Um, but Dynasty is heating up a little bit. We're having our third matchup against each other this week, and some other
Yeah,
big Chris Gregg and Alex. Is this both
yeah,
leagues they're going against each other? So that's pretty big. And then Nick P, Chris Smart going trying to pull away and get a playoff push, and then Dad versus Owen, which is a pretty big one.
yeah. I mean, I think you also miss Stein and Lestrange in there, who are also two of your top teams. So
Yeah, it just feels like Stein's gonna get his. I mean, he could clinch this week. I think clinch his playoff berth because he'll win the
I think
division,
he could also.
so he's
But
gonna run away with it.
um, let's start with the most excited game of the week, I think, which is
Yeah.
the Dad uh, Owen game. The, I mean, I think everyone in the league is rooting for Dad. Dawson Knox hurt him, but he did have St. Brown get off to a good start, and I don't think he can be upset with Gallup or Dallas this week. So, I mean,
It'll be
ooh,
interesting. I mean, as long as Owen doesn't play quarterback, Zach Wilson is in, so that could be the
that is
difference.
true. Yeah, that might be the difference.
Because it is a
Ooh,
11-point
he could have
spread
played,
now.
and he could have played Mac Jones too.
Oh wow! Well, now he might have to play Matt Ryan, or he could just
Yeah,
play some random quarterback or player.
but I mean, I think we're all rooting for that first win for Dad. Let the losing streak end. He's now officially set the record for the longest losing streak and most losses in a season, clearing you off the record book there.
Thank you, Dad. That was a little mean when I saw all my terrible records I had. I was like, God dang. But I think those are records that won't be broken. Just an
No,
expansion team's tough.
I have a feeling that Dad has set those records, and I would imagine that they're probably not. I hope that they're not close anytime soon.
Yeah. Tough though. I'm looking down the list. He had Dalton Schultz on the bench, 17
Yeah,
points. Oof.
that's a rough one to have on the bench. But
It's
I
really hard to
mean,
make those decisions in Dynasty.
yeah, I mean, I also understand like you have like at tight end he played Dawson Knox, who just had his most receptions in a game ever in Detroit last week
Hmm.
against I can't remember who they played anymore,
Cleveland.
against Cleveland. And so you're like, all right, against the Lions, you can't guard the tight end. Dawson Knox, great play, and then just happens.
Hmm. It's,
But
it's it's even hard to just keep track of how big the bench is. Tight ends are the most
yeah,
difficult to kind of deal with. And then Tony went out for him too, so that was a tough one to lose. All
but I
right.
mean, playoff wise, I mean, right now we're looking at Chris, or who's the last one in right now?
I think it's me. I'm
Um,
looking at it right
yeah,
now. We've got
I
Herrera
think
and
you,
Stein with buys, Greg
yeah,
versus
Herrera,
Smart, and me versus Connor at this point.
yeah, and you're in at 6-5, and you got myself and Nick P, who are both right behind you.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's a big week
I
as
mean,
we go off against each other for the third time, trying to stay away
yeah,
from the O for here. and then get your back. I mean, think you would. Would you be in the playoffs if you win this game?
I think I would be.
Yeah, because you'd beat out points four against Nick P, so you'd be
You
up.
know. So it's a big week for. It's no longer just my team. It's as we saw with the addition.
I
I
saw
have
that
a
you
new
had some other
co-manager.
person. Who is this?
Yes, Brett Templeton is my new co-manager.
Oh,
I realized that I have a trading problem, and I went out and added someone to monitor my trading issue.
gotcha. Is he is he looking to be an expansion?
I don't. After the debacle of dealing with an expansion this year and how the teams are looking, I have no interest in doing any expansion teams for at least like another 5 years.
Okay, we'll see. It's gonna popular league. Um,
But
but we can go over. Let's go over Greg and Alex, just because we got them going back to back again, and the top two
mm,
teams at this point. Um, any
oh,
predictions
that
here? I
hurts.
mean, it's crazy.
I just have to throw this out there. Hurts for Chris Gregg on Jalen Hurts. I mean, for both of them, really, because like he's on Chris Gregg's team in the foosball league. He's on
Yeah,
Alex's here, so he's gonna hurt you and help you. But I mean, Chris Gregg has some pretty solid like receivers, and New England defense only getting you 2 points is pretty rough.
yeah. You
Um,
think more?
but I mean, it'll be interesting. Antonio Gibson will have a big week for him here. Um, I guess Chris Gregg is probably just circling Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and just hoping for poor weeks out of both of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's crazy that Alex has him in both leagues. Uh,
Yeah.
pretty nice, pretty nice. But he's benching Damian Pierce this week, which I thought was kind of a surprise. Um, but he's
Yeah, I mean,
had a rough couple weeks for Damian Pierce.
it's also like whenever you look at who he's starting over him, like you can't bench Dalvin Cook, you can't bench Derrick Henry. You have David Montgomery who has the full backfield to himself, so he's basically got the same outlook. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
and
then
Antonio
Gibson's going
Gibson,
against a bad defense.
yeah. So I mean, it makes sense. It's tough. He's got some pretty good running backs moving forward. I mean, granted, Montgomery is going to be probably teamless next year as of now.
Yeah,
Um,
but he did pick up. I mean, Calvin Ridley. That's a great hold.
yeah,
Didn't even realize that. I totally forgot that this guy even existed.
I tried making some trade offers for him, but I wasn't really interested in trying to pay up too much for Ridley. I mean, I'm not sold on Ridley coming back and being elite, especially with Trevor Lawrence, who I've not been excited about yet.
Yeah, you're not a big Jags guy. But one other odd one, Juju Smith Schuster over Michael Pittman
That
on
is
Alex's side.
interesting.
Yeah. I guess
So,
Pittsburgh's defense is back with TJ Watt, so it could. I mean, they're projected about the same points. Just for
yeah.
me, I don't appreciate Juju, but I think this is a tough one. But I'm actually gonna go with my prediction's gonna be Alex.
Yeah, I lean towards Alex as well.
Just one of those QBs is gonna go off. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, then you got Nick P and Chris Smart. I'm 100% rooting for Nick P here, even though technically it would help me if, in terms of playoffs, for Nick P to lose here. Just get him out of my way. But I mean, I'm rooting for Chris Smart to somehow miss the playoffs, and I get a top four pick out of it for my trade with him.
oh, that's what it is. I was gonna say Chris Smart's been my team of support through Dynasty, so I'm actually rooting for Chris Smart to meet me in the playoffs, and then he can lose. But after that,
The worse Chris Smart does, the better it is for my draft capital because I have his first and his third.
dang, yeah, that's tough. And all he's got is some interesting quarterbacks now. Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, and then he's relying on Kirk Cousins as his top. Oh, he's got Taylor Heineke actually. Maybe that works
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I understand not wanting to play Cousins again. Did he play Cousins this week?
He played Cousins this
He
week.
did
I
play
would play
Cousins this week.
Cousins. I wouldn't play Russell Wilson. I picked up Russell Wilson last week thinking he'd be good against the Raiders, and he was still terrible.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I think his team's probably going to do pretty well down the stretch here. I mean, Jonathan Taylor being back healthy is phenomenal, and you got Keenan Allen coming back, and I think he'll probably end up making the playoffs. But I can always root for some disaster to strike, and maybe he just falls into that fourth spot, and then luckily maybe he finishes poorly in the he gets the lottery first pick overall.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean, there's a chance right now in this league that I finish with the top 2 picks.
Who would you draft at this point?
Oh, I mean, I think looking at my team,
one of the core QBs, I'm assuming.
yeah, I think looking at my team, I think Brett and I would 100% take a QB with one of the 2 picks. And then it'd be tough. It'd really depend on where guys land. But I mean,
you get Bijan Robinson.
The Dijon guy out of Texas looks like he's going to be a phenomenal back.
Yeah, he's insane.
So adding that to the depth at running back moving forward looks pretty solid also.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of mock drafts with him in the top 10, so it looks like he's going to be the next big-time running back to get drafted, and top 10 running backs don't happen that often. So let's go over the last game on our... Did we go over everyone else? Is it for Stein and Chris? So Stein and Lestrange in both leagues, again.
Yep, Stein and Lestrange in both leagues also.
Crazy.
I mean, got some Kenneth Walker going here. That'll be big. Austin Eckler is going to be phenomenal against Arizona. Play everyone against Arizona moving forward. I think that defense is given up. I mean, I think Cliff Kingsbury's fired by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, the O-line thing, the O-line coach getting fired, I mean, that was crazy.
I think I saw something that he's like 4-17 in like his last like 21 games or something.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
And they gave him an extension in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, coaching contracts are never like disclosed, so you don't know if it's guaranteed or if there's like a cut on it. But also, if he gets, I'm sure Cliff Kingsbury will get hired through a college.
Oh, I'm sure he'll get a job immediately. I mean, you sent me
the money.
The other day, Matt Rule is getting ready to be hired as Nebraska's head coach.
Yeah, David Tepper was the second happiest person besides Matt Rule about that because he didn't have to pay as much money anymore. So, 8 years for Matt Rule. Wow. Well, I'm hoping he fails because actually it'd be kind of nice if he's okay because Nebraska, the Big Ten West is so bad.
I mean, I really don't care. We'll see. I mean, conferences are getting rearranged here, and we got 2 more seasons with the current setup, and then it's all up in the air.
Pretty crazy that Carnell Lestrange is starting 2 tight ends. He's loving his Juwan Johnson, who's on a killing. Like, he's absolutely crazy the last couple weeks.
He has been. And, I mean, I'm looking at who else you could play over him, and I don't blame him. I mean, can you pick someone off his bench that you would rather play over Juwan Johnson?
I don't think so. I'm looking through it. I could see he had... I mean, if Wan'Dale Robinson was healthy, I'd think maybe about Cam Akers, but they're playing Kansas City and there's no Stafford. Just seeing the Darrell Henderson get cut, you think Cam Akers, but makes sense. Yeah. Just pray for another touchdown for Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's brutal.
Yeah, so it should be a crazy week. Well, once in 2 years, we'll have to change the name of the Big Ten West for our division. Or maybe keep it for posterity's sake. There's no more trades because the trade deadline's over. So anything else you want to bring up before we wrap up?
I think everyone here is rooting for Wilburn to get that win.
Wilburn.
And
don't replace Zach Wilson, Owen.
I will say I'm very scared if he doesn't get a win. Because, I mean, I don't want to be the team that gives him his first win. I have to play him in like 2 weeks, I think.
You're
So,
nervous about being that guy. I think I play him next week, so
I
there's
mean,
no
at some point, the losing streak's going to end, and it's going to look bad for whoever
better
loses.
not be
Owen is
me.
acceptable because he's the expansion team.
Yeah,
So, I mean, but I
I'm a
think
little
we're all rooting for the
nervous.
win this week.
I have a lot of buys next week, and not a lot of people to play in those buys. So
Yeah, NFL needs to work on their buy schedule. These week 13 and 14 buys are unacceptable.
they're kind of crazy. Well, that's what it's gonna. It'll be in the next 3 or 4 years. There'll be another game, so
Yeah.
it's only gonna get worse. We'll have
Yep.
18 games in the NFL for 19 weeks. It's gonna be a slog. All right. Anything else?
I think that's everything. We will try our best to get another episode in next week.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get episodes at least throughout the rest of the year, just because now it's
We've been
getting
really good.
much more
And it's getting
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah. All right. See you guys next week.
Oh, all right. Time to go back and watch the rest of the Penn State game.
Dude, I had a